Let's go make this casserole carrier, but first, always remember to share this so it was saved to your profile and you can find it when you're looking for it again later. I started with this pattern, Circle Magic Casserole Cozy by Missouri Star Quilt Company, and they're giving you a free download. The free download and the fabrics that I'm using are both linked in the caption. This pattern is a little more advanced than a beginner, but I'm gonna break it down. I'm gonna show you what they did here, how they did it, and then we're going to make this beginner friendly because this pattern is not the boss of me and it's not the boss of you too. So if you get a pattern that's a little more advanced than what you're comfortable with, just think about how you can make it simpler. Let's go make this Circle Magic Casserole Cozy. I started with one piece of 5 by 5 inch fabric and one solid 5 by 5 inch fabric. Then I have this magic circle template and I'm taking the back off so y'all don't yell at me, okay? I traced the circle out, cut it out. Now I'm gonna take, this is just a Sharpie, use whatever you want, and I'm gonna mark these 4 corners, and then I'm gonna mark this slit right here at the top. So your block or circle will look like this. Now our instructions say to cut out both circles before you sew them together. I'm only cutting one circle out, and after I sew it, I'm going to cut around it. It just is easier for me. I'm gonna take this piece of Insul Bright, I'm gonna lay it right here in the middle of that square that we drew. Do you see the square? And I'm gonna put this on the square and I'm gonna sew an X. Our instructions say to use some spray adhesive, but I don't really like the spray adhesive. I feel like it gets everywhere, or maybe it's just because I'm messy. But either way, I'm gonna stitch mine with an X right here. Straight stitch, and I'm just sewing from corner to corner. I know, that thread is so distracting back there. It's supposed to be standing up in my cup. So now this is what we have. Now I'm gonna take my circle and lay it on top of my background fabric. Our instructions say to cut the circle out of the background fabric too before you sew it, but that seems more difficult to me. So before I do that, I need to cut this line right here, that slit, because that's how we're gonna turn it right side out. So let me cut that open and then we'll sew it together. Okay, so I cut this slit. Now I'm gonna lay it on top of this yellow and I'm gonna sew all the way around. After I sew it all the way around, then I'm gonna turn it right side out through that slit that we left. Straight stitch, 1/4 inch seam, following the edge of your fabric with the edge of your presser foot. And yes, we are back stitching when we start and when we stop. Just stop looking at it. I know you can't help yourself because I'm looking at it too, round and round. So now this is what you have. So now I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna trim off this background fabric. Doesn't have to be perfect. It's gonna be on the inside of your circle. Be careful you don't cut your stitches you just made though. After we trim it all the way around, we're gonna turn it right side out. Now sewing a circle is not easy, but it's not hard either. You just have to take your time. It's not as easy as a straight stitch. So just take your time when you're going around. And when you turn it right side out, get your chopstick or whatever your tool is, fingers. Do not use your scissors. And push your project out to make sure you don't have some weird pockets of fabric, and that will give you your pretty circle. So now this is what we have. You go iron yours, I'm gonna go iron mine, and I'll be right back. I'm back, and I had already made a few more of these so I could show you how they go together for the front of your casserole cozy. Your instructions say you're supposed to mark the corners, but if you put your Insul Bright in there like I did, you have the X on there so you can see it. You're gonna take 2 blocks and put them back sides together, lining up your corners. Now, you're gonna sew right here, just 1/4 inch from the edge of your presser foot. I chose to sew right here on the side where I flipped it because I wanted to show you how you were gonna hide that side, and since we're not doing the whole thing, if I sewed on another side, you wouldn't be able to see that. But if you're sewing it, the whole thing out of these circles, you will eventually sew on every side. So then you're gonna take this, you sewed this, back sides together, open it up, and you're going to lay this down just like that. And you're gonna sew here and up here. Now this time I'm going to sew close to the edge like a top stitch, not a 1/4 inch stitch. I know, you're all breathing a sigh of relief because I fixed the thread. I'm glad I have your attention back. Okay, and this is what we have. If you were doing the whole casserole carrier like this, you would just sew circle to circle to circle to circle. And after you had a row of 5, then you would sew that row to the next row. Same way, back sides together. Let's pretend like this is the next row. You would sew it the same way. You would put back sides together. So this is a row and this is a row. Sew right here. And when you open it up, then you would lay that down and stitch. and lay this down and stitch. It's really not hard. It looks like it's difficult, but I promise it's not. Now, let's make this casserole carrier with some single pieces of fabric. Pick up the two 9x15 inch Insel Bright rectangles and align their edges. Sew around the perimeter of the rectangles with a 1/4 inch seam allowance to hold them together. Okay, let's sew around those first. Insel Bright is some insulated batting. It's perfect for what we're doing here, but it is not good for bowl cozies. Do not put this in your microwave or you will have a fireworks show. Spray some of the adhesive on one side of the Insel Bright. Center the Insel Bright on the back side of one of the 9.5 by 15.5 background rectangles and adhere it to the fabric. Okay, we're not going to use the spray adhesive, but if you want to, this is where you would use it. You would just center it on here. I'm just going to go and stitch all the way around. Actually, I'm going to stitch an X like I did a minute ago. We've already established that I'm messy, so I'm not using the spray adhesive, but if you want to use the spray adhesive, there's nothing wrong with it, and that's what the pattern says to do. Measure 3.5 inches from the center of each long side of the background fabric without the Insel Bright. Attach and make a mark on the right side of the fabric. Place each end of a strap inside the marks on one long edge. Be sure not to twist the strap and then pin or clip the ends in place. Baste the ends of the strap to the fabric rectangle. Repeat to add the second strap. Place the two background rectangles on top of one another, right sides facing, with the straps tucked inside. This is our Dritz 1-inch belting strap. I literally just cut it in half. We're going to go 3.5 inches on each side, it says. And we're going to do the same thing to the other side. The belting strap started out at 2 yards, so that means each handle strap is 1 yard. I just folded the fabric in half and then measured 3.5 inches out from the center crease and clipped my strap. And then I measured out 3.5 inches from the crease towards the other side and clipped the other end of my strap. And I did that to both sides of my bottom piece of fabric. Make sure your strap is not twisted. We're going to sew ours a little bit differently than the pattern tells us to. It's telling us how to sew it, but we're going to end up with a bunch of raw edges because we are not doing ours the way that they're telling us to. So we're going to do ours just a touch differently. If you are sewing it with the circles, you're going to follow these instructions. If you're not sewing it with the circles, follow me. This is going to be the inside of our cozy. What you see right here is the inside of it. So what we're going to do is sew this to this end, just like this, and open it up. And then we're going to sew this to this end, just like this, and open it up. Our casserole cozy is going to fold out like this. So we're just basically sewing our sides together. We're going to fold this side up, and then we're going to fold this side up. Pretty side to pretty side, straight stitch, back stitch when you start and when you stop. I'm going to put the two sides on and then these two end pieces on. The two side pieces are 9.5 inches by 15.5 inches. You will need 4 of these because you will need 2 for the inside and 2 for the outside. Okay, so this is the bottom of our bag. Actually, it's the bottom of the inside of our bag. And all 3 of these pieces are 9.5 by 15.5. These pieces are 9.5 by 12.5. And these are going to go on the ends, same way. Straight stitch, straight stitch. You'll also need 4 9.5 inch pieces by 12.5 inch pieces because you'll need 2 for the inside and 2 for the outside. Okay, here's the bottom of the outside of our bag. We just put our straps on it. So it looks like this. We're going to choose the sides of the outside, and they're going to look like this. So these are 9.5. So these are 9.5 by 15.5, 9.5 by 12.5. And we're going to sew them on exactly like we sewed that on. Except when we lay this over here, we're going to lay this pretty side to pretty side. And we want to make sure that our straps are in between this. Straight stitch, 1/4 inch seam, back stitching when you start and when you stop. This side and then do the other side. This has to be the easiest casserole carrier pattern that I've seen, minus the circles. The circles made it more difficult, but without the circles, this is the easiest casserole carrier I've seen, and I've seen a bunch of them. Because y'all ask for them a lot, and I want to give it to you, but I want to give it to you in something you can actually do. Okay, this is what this side looks like. All right, our straps are in there. Do you see that? Now, we're going to sew these 9.5 by 15.5 to each end, just like we did this one. straight stitch, 1/4 inch seam, back stitching when you start and when you stop, because my grandma said so. And this is absolutely doable for a complete beginner because it's all straight stitches. There is nothing difficult about this. It's square, well, rectangle pieces of fabric and straight stitches. Okay, here is the outside of our bag. So this is the outside and that is the inside. Now, the inside has Insulbright, right? You could do this before you did what I just did, but I just didn't think about it, to be honest. So I have 2 pieces of Insulbright, 8 inches by 15.5 inches. If you did this before, it could probably be 8.5 inches, but because I forgot to put the Insulbright on, I had to cut it down a little bit. So I'm gonna put those there. Now, you can do the spray adhesive like the instructions say, but I'm really just gonna go and do another X. I just want it to stay, but you could quilt it any way you wanted to. If you wanted to do a design in it, that would be great too. If you wanted a quilted design in the outside of your casserole cozy, this is the step which you would do it. You would quilt it however you want to, diagonal, in circles, straight stitches. It's yours. You make it any way you want to. Or you can use the spray adhesive. That's totally up to you. I've done these 2 side pieces. Now we're going to do the 2 end pieces. This is 8.5 by 11.5. I'm going to lay it on there, same way. I'm just going to sew an X. Whether you use the spray adhesive, you sew an X, or you quilt it, you do want to make sure that the Insulbright is attached to your fabric. Otherwise, it'll all bunch up and fall to one corner. And after all this hard work, that's the last thing you want to happen, and it could be embarrassing at your family gathering. Okay, so we need an 8-inch piece of hook and loop tape. That's easy, that's Velcro. So this is the outside of our bag. This is the inside of our bag. Do y'all see it? How it's coming together? This is what it's gonna look like when we're finished. This is gonna fold over our casserole, and this is gonna fold up, and this is gonna fold back. And you're gonna carry it like this. So let's get some hook and loop tape. Stop judging me, I hear y'all. Am I gonna fix it? No. It works for me. Plus, every time I fix it, it just gets to be a mess again. We have hook and loop tape. Our instructions say 8 inches. I don't know how much I have here, but more than 8 inches, I think. Oh, look at me. I have 10 inches of hook and loop tape. So you're gonna put 1 piece right here. Let's see, where does it say to put it? Center each piece of hook and loop tape on the large side panels. Okay, so you're gonna center 1 piece here, and this is on the front of your bag, okay? And then you're gonna center 1 piece here, and this is on the inside of your bag. Because remember, when it comes over and folds, that's what's gonna meet, okay? So we're gonna put 1 piece right here in the center. Now look, when you're sewing the Velcro, you wanna sew all the way in a square, or in our case, a rectangle, and then you wanna sew an X across it, so that whenever it is pulled on, it doesn't come off of your bag. And you can pin it or clip it. Well, pin it. You'd have to pin it here if you want to. I'm not going to. I'm just going to sew it with a straight stitch all the way around, and then I'm going to make an X in the center. Make sure that you get sew-on Velcro and not the adhesive kind, because the adhesive will gum up your needle and it's a disaster. It is not fun to sew. Okay, here is one side of our casserole carrier. This is the outside of it. It has our straps in between these 2 panels. Has our end pieces sewn on, our 2 side pieces sewn on, and it has Velcro on 1 side piece. Push that to the side. Now, here's the inside of our casserole carrier, and it has the Insulbright. We're gonna choose one of our sides. Doesn't matter which one, because we'll make sure we put it in the right order when we sew it together in a minute. We're gonna choose one of our sides, and we're gonna center the other side of our Velcro, hook and loop tape. Same thing, all the way around, X down the center. The rough side of hook and loop tape is not fun to sew because the rough side will shred the thread in your needle. So when you have this trouble, just know you're not the only one. So this is what we have. Hook and loop tape sewn on, X in the center. This is one side of our casserole carrier. We have it face up. We're gonna take our second piece and place it face down. Make sure all of our side pieces match. Now you do wanna make sure that your Velcro is on opposite sides. So this piece has Velcro and this side has Velcro. So that when it closes, it has something to hook to. Now, we're gonna sew this all the way around. Straight stitch, 1/4 inch seam, back stitching when you start and when you stop, except you need to leave a hole to turn it. It's just an ink pen because it's what I could grab. I'm gonna leave my hole on one of these long sides, and I'm leaving mine about 3 inches. So I'm gonna start sewing here. I'm gonna sew here, down, up, all the way around. And when I get back to this mark, that's gonna be my reminder to stop. Straight stitch, 1/4 inch seam, back stitching when you start and when you stop, because my grandma said so. And there goes the thread again. Sorry, y'all. I know, it's so distracting. I'm trying to talk to you, and all I can see is this empty cup. My thread sits inside a cup that sits inside an ice cream pint cozy. I know, it's ridiculous, but it works, normally. Evidently not today, though. But anyway, I'm super excited to see the ones that y'all make, so be sure you're emailing a photo to hometownquiltcompany@gmail.com, because everybody wants to see. And these would make the best Christmas gifts. And y'all, I want to make all the things for Christmas, so drop in the comments the Christmas gifts you want to make, because I want to know what's on your mind. Maybe I want to make it too, because handmade is so much fun, and it's a super sweet gift. Okay, we've sewn it. Now we're going to put our hand inside and turn it right side out. You're going to turn it right side out and push out all of your corners. Finger, handy dandy tool, chopstick. Do not use your scissors. It's a terrible idea. You'll poke a hole in your project, and then you'll be crying. You'll be crying because you have a hole. I'll be crying because you didn't listen to me, and then everybody's crying. So let's just don't do that. All right, this is what we have. Now, we're going to iron it and then straight stitch all the way around. This is my ironing situation. We've talked about it before. Heat resistant pad, wool mat. This is a Lisso iron from Missouri Star Quilt Company. Y'all, it's incredible. And I don't love a small iron, but this isn't a mini iron. I think it's called a mini iron, but it's really not mini, or not as mini as the one that I have. The mini iron that I have is like half this size. And I don't love it because it's not heavy, and I want the weight part of it. But this one is heavy, and it gets super, super hot. Now, we're going to top stitch all the way around it, and that's going to close up the hole that we left to turn it and make it lay nice and flat. A top stitch is just a straight stitch sewn a little closer to the edge. I like for mine to look like it's about to fall off, but only sew as close as you're comfortable. And yes, we are back stitching when we start and when we stop. Okay, this is what we have. Do you see this second piece of Velcro here and this second piece of Velcro here? Yeah, because I didn't read the instructions. I mean, I read them, but only the first part of the sentence. It said to center your Velcro, so I centered our Velcro. And then if you kept reading, it said center it about 1/2 inch from this edge. So I had to sew 2 more pieces of Velcro, or else my casserole dish wouldn't fit in my casserole carrier. Now I'm at the shop, so I don't have a casserole dish, but I do have a stack of paper. In the center, sides come up just like this. One side over, second side over, Velcro, and ta-ta-ta, carry. You've got this pattern just in time for the holidays. My name is Tammy. I'm your favorite sewing teacher, and I would love for you to come sew with me.